Dried out tears of sorrow, lacking all emotion, staring down the barrel, waiting for the final gates to open to a new tomorrow, moving with the motion, following the light God sets me
Alright, welcome back everyone. So in today's video we're going to talk about expectations for the US and the rest of the world. Expectations on how long this nano zombie is going to last. We'll talk about the COMEX breaking and physical prices for metals are much higher than the futures. We'll talk about mining stocks, infinite QE, the tools in their toolbox. We'll talk about the markets and unemployment, the psychology of people and how that's going to change in the near term future and the long term, and possible early indications of how this is going to play out in the next few weeks and months. Okay, so first of all, not financial advice. Consult your licensed financial advisor. I am not a licensed financial advisor. Consult them before doing anything. Stocks, extremely volatile, extremely risky. Do not invest in anything you're not willing to lose or lose sleep over. Here's what I'm doing, just so you guys know. Stay healthy, or to boost my immune system. Consult your doctor before doing anything. I take tonic water. It has some stuff in it, look it up. And it's cheap and you can buy a lot of it. And I'll make a cocktail. So I take tonic water, I put nano silver in it. There is a difference between colloidal and nano. Vitamin C pack, like powdered packet, and elderberry. I bought a ton of elderberry. Stuff's expensive, but it's organic. It's been used for I think hundreds, if not thousands a year. Well, I don't know about thousands, but very long time, since like the Middle Ages, to boost immune. And what else do I put in it? I also buy from bulk supplements. You could also use Pedialyte, or you could buy electrolytes, and you could put that in there as well. And then I take one of my workout supplements, which is a powdered form of oxygen. You use it to get oxygen into your muscles and your blood system, so you get massive pumps when you're working out. But you know, that boosts the oxygen in your body, in your blood, which helps your immune system function properly and everything. But honestly, I would only use that because I use it every day anyways for working out, but I only would use that if I did get sick. But there's a cocktail I make. I probably only make it every 4 days. Now, if I feel sick, then yeah, I would probably start doing it once a day, or if not twice. Alright, so expectations. So I was listening to what's his name? One of the doctors or that nurse. His YouTube. He's very popular. I forgot his name. I'll post it in the newsroom, the video. But he's been following this since the beginning, and he has credentials. He's even been on mainstream, and I trust him. I don't even think he's making a penny or a dime off of this. Even his YouTube channel, he's not making anything. So he's that older gentleman, the British gentleman with the glasses. He said he's expecting in the US peak for this nano zombie to peak out in about 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, okay, from now. So 3 to 4 weeks, that's obviously past Easter, and that's looking like, well, Americans are going to get pretty angry. It's also very bad for the economy. Now, I'm not even saying that the lockdown will be lifted after 3 to 4 weeks from now. That's when this thing peaks in the US, right? Meaning, we're looking at maybe the lockdown being lifted 2 weeks afterwards, the earliest. So that would make you think we have about 5 to 6 more weeks, right? So about another month and a half of this, in the US at least. The rest of the world, well, it's probably going to go on longer, much longer, especially in second world and third world, right? There, it's probably just going to burn through the population the rest of this year. So they'll peak out probably summer. But, it's probably going to be horrific. Because, they're going to get... Their hospital systems are definitely going to get overran. I mean, the U.S. is even overran, so is Europe. They're beginning in certain areas, right? The hot zones, like New York City, New York, the state of New York, and then I expect Cali to go after that. So, of course, many Americans are already losing patience, quite eager to get back to work. If the shelter-in-place orders stretch on for months, it is probably inevitable that we will see civil unrest and rioting, as we're witnessing in China right now. Now, I posted on my Twitter and in the newsroom another article that had a bunch of videos, and soon as the lockdown was lifted, when people came back out, they're angry. Okay, first of all, a lot of them don't have work, and after being pretty much on house arrest for months, and China was about 3 months now. That's a long time, guys. You're gonna see it. So this is just the beginning. Remember, it's just the beginning. And I have a feeling what we see in China is pretty much a precursor to the near-term future. In Europe and the U.S. I mean, Europe, I guarantee you. I mean, we were seeing riots and everything prior to this in Europe, and because of their migration and there's like ghettos in Europe, those people aren't even listening to the lockdown. They're just not listening, right? There's no rule of law is already breaking down there. Well, and it depends which countries. I'm referring mostly to UK. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? Put in the comment section if you think the U.S. could handle another month and a half. I mean, think of your average American. I mean, they're used to traveling. They have goals. They have jobs. They had vacations planned. All plans are pretty much out the window. And just your way of life is completely changed. It's upside down to what it used to be. And I feel like as the weather becomes better and warms up, I mean, people don't want to be cooped up in their homes. I mean, just where I live, everyone is basically outside, walking around, riding bikes, I actually see more people now than ever before, to be honest. All right. Well, at least in the suburbs. What else? Now, I posted this in the newsroom a few days ago. And after listening to this video, right? So this is what I wrote. I thought the U.S. economy was at most 30% financialized and another 20% governmentalized. According to Chris here, he said 40%. If so, meaning 40% is financialized. If so, we are looking at a massive, massive unemployment, meaning you better be prepared and have some self-protection. So here's what I'm trying to get at. Because the U.S. has outsourced all of its manufacturing industrialization to the rest of the world through globalization, not only have we financialized our economy way more than we should have, like I've been saying for years, financialization is a byproduct of industrialization. So you don't have finance without brick and mortar manufacturing companies. But because we could print money and create paper bubbles, basically credit bubbles, debt bubbles through the financial markets, we have financialized our economy, meaning there's a large percentage of people in the US who their jobs are basically shuffling paperwork or clicking a mouse and typing on a keyboard and moving phantom digits, ones and zeros around, just like me in a way. But the reason I do trading and economics and all this, I always found it to be interesting and I sort of enjoyed it and whatnot. But also, it is probably the easiest way right now to make it in a big way, because this will be the largest wealth transfer in human history. And you want to be on the part of that, because there is going to be no middle class. You're either going to be a peasant or you're going to be the guy in the mansion on the hill. I'm sorry to say, that's what I believe. For the next few decades at least. All right, so here's another problem. Financialization is probably around, I thought it was around 20%. He said 40. I bet it's around 30%, maybe less. The other problem is another like 25 to 30% is service sector. Service sector is also a byproduct of manufacturing and brick and mortar. The problem is all that went over the seas, right? And most of the jobs that have been made in the past 11 years during this largest expansion in economic U.S. history, which is bullshit, it was basically off of economic data, which did not really show the true types of employment, right? It's basically millennials getting bartender jobs and waitress jobs and baristas jobs, okay? Those don't really add to the economy. So, and then the third largest sector in the U.S. economy, and Europe is very similar to the U.S., the way it's set up, is government jobs. Those don't add to the economy either. These all sort of feed off of it and take from it. That's the problem. That's why this is a really big problem for the U.S. And that's why Schiff lately has been saying some scary stuff, which he, kind of refrained himself from saying in prior years. All right, so a lot of these jobs are going to go away. The last to go away will be the government jobs, but the service sector, that's first on the chopping block, and then the financial jobs is second. All these people are going to be unemployed. All right? Just think of it. I mean, just think of all the retail stores, think of all the restaurants, think of all the bars, and think of how much of that is the economy, especially in major cities and in very heavily populated areas that are going to get hit the worst and the hardest by this nano zombie, right? All right. So what does this mean? Well, what this means is they can't let the free market reset the economy, because what the free market will do is not only spike the interest rate on all debts and loans outstanding, even for the government, all these jobs are going to literally go away, just disappear. Now, the upside to the free market correcting this malinvestment in these fake jobs and all this debt, the upside to it is we would get a great depression, like worse than the 1930s Great Depression. And the upside to that is, believe it or not, is we would see deflation. So, but there would be massive unemployment. Like, I'm talking 2 out of 10 people will have jobs. Everyone else is in a breadline. But at least food and everything is affordable. So I would rather have that. And then there would be restructuring of all the debt and all the companies and everything. And this would also force the government to cut itself down by like 95%. There wouldn't even be anything left. And that, for the long term, would be really good for society in the U.S. and the millennials and Gen Xers. We could finally afford homes. We could finally buy cars. We could finally have a future. Unfortunately, for the boomers and everyone who's been pumping this bubble and living off of credit and future debt that they've tied to, I mean, this would also lead to a default globally. The problem is this, if we had a deflationary depression, right, the boomers would be left with nothing. They would lose absolutely everything. Either way you look at it, it's going to be horrific. Now, what they're going to attempt to do is not have that. Of course, they're going to use all the tools in their toolbox to try to reinflate this bubble and try to stop a Great Depression. The ramifications of that, if you think this, so grand total, what they just did is $6 trillion this past 2 weeks. $6 trillion. I know what they passed was like 2 point something trillion. But if you look at the repo market, if you look at everything, right? The repurchase agreements, they're basically bailing out the banks because they're giving them money and then they're not really, and they're offloading their stocks and all their bad loans they made to the Fed. And, you know, you have the discount window, liquidity capital controls, US dollar swap lines on the Forex markets, meaning they're swapping currencies between central banks all around the world, and it's just a mess. I don't know. They're not going to be able to keep this going forever. It's around $6 trillion that was just pretty much pumped into the system. And they're already talking about, well, in the next few weeks and months, it's going to be $10 trillion. Honestly, guys, this is probably going to be more than $20 trillion now. Because of the nature of this event, this nano zombie, it's not going away anytime soon. All right? So to prop this quadrillion, it's like something insane. Well, all the debts for the U.S. is like, I've heard 160 trillion to 260 trillion. Globally, the derivatives and everything is like in the quadrillions. And that ties into Brett Johnson's dollar milkshake theory. Problem with that is, as this nano zombie really takes hold of second world countries and third world emerging markets, I have a feeling they're just going to say screw it and they're just going to default on all their dollar-based debts. And then when that happens, that's when the dollar's really going to tank. For the meantime, I think the dollar is just going to sort of trade sideways. I don't know, maybe between the 80 to the 100 handle. And then eventually it's going to tank once they start doing more and more QE. Once we get past that 10 trillion, it's going to fall. Where's the dollar? All right, here's the DXY. Now remember, the DXY, guys, this is a monthly chart. This is the dollar just weighted against other fiat currencies. Other fiat currencies are also being devalued along with the dollar. So this is falling all the time next to gold and food. Not oil, though. Oil's going to go back up. I'm not sure when. We'll just keep an eye on that. Because demand, right, is just falling globally. And it's probably going to continue to fall for the rest of this year. Now, once the nano zombie gets taken care of and everyone starts driving again, stuff like that, it'll go back up. I don't think it's not going to shoot to $100 a barrel or anything. But it is going to go back up because of the fiat being devalued. Anyways, so on the news, mainstream, they're going to keep saying that the dollar is strong. But on Main Street, people are going to say, what are you talking about? I'm getting less food in my packages. I'm getting less for my dollars. On top of being unemployed. And on top, listen, they're going to keep this first initial $1,200 that they're sending out everyone who has a pulse. That's good. This is just the first round. They're going to keep doing that. And the reason they're going to do that is so people, don't grab the pitchforks and the torches. That's really why they're doing it. And so they could buy food. Of course, it's not going to cover all the debt that Americans are in, and it's not going to make them whole for the jobs they lost and everything. And it's not even enough to get the velocity of money turning in the economy. So we're going to see inflation. We're going to see stagflation for some time, I believe. We're not going to see runaway inflation and eventually hyperinflation. We will see runaway and hyperinflation once the nano zombie's completely gone and everyone tries to get back to work. When will that be? Well, that is a very difficult and complicated question and answer. I don't know, because we could have multiple waves of this. This could, right, we could get... the lockdown could end, let's say, in about a month and a half, and then everyone tries to go back to work who still has a job, and things kind of normalize in the summer, all the way into the fall. But then again, we might get a second wave towards the end of fall, going into winter again. And I think if we get a second wave, that's when we're going to see some crazy stuff starting to happen. Like, people are going to be very, very angry by then. And then next summer, the world's not going to be the same place. Like, it's going to be very different for everyone all across the world. It's going to be I think it'll be much more dangerous, might be way more totalitarian, And then if there's a third wave, let's say in 2022, winter, I don't know. But we don't know, right? So we don't know if these let's just call them cures, are gonna work. We don't know if I don't want to say it. The stuff they're talking about right now, there's a couple ways to handle the nano zombie right now. It's worked in South Korea. If those work, that's great, and then we could manage it, and then the curve, right? So the hospital system doesn't get overwhelmed. If that works over this summer, then even if we get a wave 2, it might be manageable. But again, like I said, guys, the way to handle this, like I said, and I think eventually they're going to understand and do this, right? Everyone's got to wear gloves, masks, and eye protection. If you're over age 50, stay home. It is what it is. And then the millennials who just lost their part-time barista jobs can now maybe have a new job where they deliver food to the older generations. And while us younger people, like under 50, we go back to work and we're going to get it, okay? We're going to get it eventually, all of us. And we build herd immunity and then it stops spreading. Another thing to worry about is a mutation. Maybe a stronger strand comes out or a different one. So there's a lot of unknowns. There's known unknowns, and then there's unknown unknowns with this. Now you could get off, you could put on your tinfoil hat and say, they might release something that's going to be really bad. By the way, we have top generals going into their bunkers, right? Their government bunkers under hills. That's kind of concerning, I'm not going to lie. By the way, the IMF is also doing trillions in QE. We're going to see global inflation. I have never been more certain in my life of metals going to the moon. I'm going to say this right now. Gold is going to be worth more in dollars than Bitcoin very soon, probably by the end of this year. We already see over $2,000 ounce prices. Okay, here's the videos. This is the newsroom. The link's below this video. Just click on it, download the free app. It's really easy to use. But anyways, the unemployment is it's gonna be unbelievable in the next few weeks and months. We're gonna be over 10 million in unemployment, probably over 20. And that's a lot of people. A lot of pissed off people. So things are going to get much, much worse, unfortunately, I believe, than they will get better. And they're going to do whatever it takes, meaning they're going to print as much money. They've already said it. Whatever it takes, probably so everyone gets some money so they could eat. And they put in, like, the most disgusting part of all of this is the long-term consequences, because Trump is pretty much Bernie Sanders right now. People can't get thrown out of their apartments and homes if they don't pay rent. And it sounds horrible. Like, you can't, it's no one's fault. Like, you can't just listen. The long-term consequences of all of this is nationalized markets, nationalized corporations, pretty much communism, and welfare for everyone. In the long term, the side effects, the consequences of all of this will be hyperinflation in Venezuela, and more people will probably perish due to that in the long term than this nano zombie. Okay? It's fact. Once you give people free stuff, it's really hard to take it away. It's really, really hard to take it away. And what if the yellow-haired orange man doesn't stay in power, and then we do get a hardcore lefty? A hardcore lefty is just going to do MMT, which is, technically we're already doing MMT, but they'll do it on steroids. It will be Venezuela. I really hope not. I hope there's a contingency plan to all of this. Now there are some good things that are going to come out of this. If we do have a complete complete and total breakdown. At least, far off in the future, my generation, Gen X and the millennials, I mean, we're going to harden up. We're going to toughen up. And eventually the control structure will break down completely. And then they will be able to do no more of this nonsense. And then eventually we'll just probably go back to hard money and no more funny money, endless credit, bubble blowing, and we'll probably have free markets. But the road to that, the road to freedom and free markets, and the way the U.S. used to be like 100 years ago, 150 years ago, will be very, very hard, very dangerous. It'll be very, very bad. But if you survive it, right? There is light at the end of the tunnel. Now, does the U.S. have a contingency plan to bring back manufacturing and to go back to a possible gold standard? Yeah, maybe, because central banks have been buying gold for like over 10 years now, like hoarding it, and that's why they've been pushing down artificially the prices. The problem is we're still going to have hard times, meaning we're still going to see massive inflation, especially as we bring manufacturing back to the U.S. You're going to see inflation because higher wage employees are, we're going to create products that the world's not going to buy for a while, and only we're going to buy products from ourselves. It's not, listen, it's going to be fascinating to watch all of this unfold. All right, the COMEX. There's no gold in the COMEX, and I've been saying, all the By the way, every conspiracy has pretty much come true at this point for financial markets. So what's happening? So for the next few weeks, I mean, a lot of these mining companies are shutting down for a few weeks, mandated by the jurisdictions that are in, especially in South America, maybe even in Canada. They will reopen in a few weeks. But not only because people are freaking out and panicking because of the economy. I actually had someone... it's a long story. Anyways, everyone's freaking out about the economy. Believe me, I've been talking to boomers, like, walking around outside. And anyways... so they're buying gold and silver, and you can't even get your hands on it anymore. People are just denying people now. Everyone is back ordered for months, and the fact that these mining companies are going to shut down for a few weeks, it's going to be on back order for many months, maybe a year. And then the smart money, the rich, and the institutions who are trying to get their hands on the physical bought a bunch of future contracts. And now they might panic and ask for delivery. And the futures markets are not going to be able to give them delivery. And I told you, this is going to cause a limit up. It's going to cause a huge short squeeze. And then this manipulation and fraud is going to end spectacularly, with gold shooting up hundreds of dollars and going limit up. I mean, the prices are around 2,175 right now, which is probably going to keep going up, especially as the Fed is forced to do more QE. You guys don't get it. The Fed is stuck doing QE. And as time goes on and they do more people on Wall Street and everywhere are going to realize this, and the price of metals could only go one place, and that is up. And the mining companies shutting down is actually going to make this even worse. And what if these mining companies hedge by going long futures? So, I mean, this is the perfect storm that every gold bug has been talking about for like decades. And it's finally starting to happen. Now, some of you are wondering, so are the mining stocks going to fall while the futures go up for gold? No, No, I don't think so. I may be wrong on this, but I don't think so. Why is that? Because markets are forward looking and they like to buy ahead of everyone else. Meaning, everyone knows when these mining stock companies open back up, there's going to be a huge demand. And they have the assets in the ground. It's not like the assets go away. So you have to kind of price these mining companies on how much assets they have in the ground. And I know people are like, oh, you have to see how much capex they have and how much cash they have. Yeah, that's true. But not when gold's at $3,000 an ounce and silver eventually is going to start rallying as well. People are not going to look at it as a industrial metal. They're going to start looking at it as gold, as a store of value as well, safe haven. And not just that, eventually companies are going to open back up globally. I mean, this isn't going to last forever. And then the industrial demand is going to come back for silver eventually. Not just that, the medical demand, the health demand, because silver is a great bacterial. So forward looking, speculators, I believe, are going to buy mining stocks now, like this week coming, these next few weeks. And they're going to rally, I believe, even if they shut off, believe it or not. So that's what I'm expecting. And I think this year is going to be awesome for us, in the private group at least. By the way, we're doing more... I could do this thing where I share, we could talk to each other. Like 100 people could talk to each other. I mean, we have to take turns, but everyone could hear each other talk, and I could do screen sharing. A lot of guys are really smart. They bring up good opportunities, good ideas. So it's not just me. This is like a group effort. Like, I don't care. Like, this is all about everyone surviving and thriving and profiting as much as humanly possible, so we comfortably make it through this. And listen, guys, largest wealth transfer in history, and whoever makes it out on the other end and benefits from all of this is possibly setting themselves up for, the rest of their lives, hopefully. Can't make any promises, though. It's not easy. It's never easy. Alright, so listen, also, there's no more stock buybacks. Those are banned. So how in the hell is this market going to go back up into a bubble? Let's look at the Dow here. I don't think they could make new all-time highs unless they print like 100 trillion or something insane, which would cause hyperinflation. At that point, it doesn't matter if the stock market's going higher. Just like Venezuela's, when you sell your stocks, they're not going to be worth as much because the fiat currency is going to be devalued so much. It will happen at some point. Here's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting something like this, right? Maybe a little bit lower, and then maybe they'll get it back up, but the dollar is going to be so much... It'll be worth so much less. So is the euro, so is every other fiat currency, that when it's up, when the stock market goes back up, those stock shares you own that are in profit are not going to be worth as much as today in the future. Just remember that. Meanwhile, this happens, they're going to print like another like tens of trillions, and gold's going to just go straight to the moon. Also, another thing you guys need to see. Okay, so here's the GDX. I've shown you guys this before. When gold was at 1370, 1360 in 2016, the GDX was at $32. The GDX right now is at $24, and gold is at it's at 1630. This has to catch up with the price of gold, and it will. Now, the GDX is an ETF, a basket of all mining stocks. I'm not telling you to buy this. There's better ETFs out there, believe me, but this is one of the main ones everyone knows about and looks at. This is going to catch up with the price of gold and overshoot it by a lot. Okay? By a lot. This is going to cross the price of gold. It has to eventually. Look back here. So the orange line is gold, by the way. The spot price of gold. Historically, the GDX outperforms the price of gold. It should. It's mining stocks. So this is going to happen again. And that's when you're going to see massive life-changing gains. All right. And this is just the GDX. There's way better opportunities in the mining sector out there, I believe. So check out the private group. Go to my website. Product should pay for itself. You have nothing better to do while you're locked down, so at least, I don't know, try to profit. try to catch some of this life, the largest wealth transfer ever. And of course, you know, it's a group. We share information. We talk about mining stocks. We also short other stocks. And you could learn to trade. I share my trades so you guys could learn, and then, you know, take the information we're talking about and then consult your licensed financial advisor, and then, you know, hopefully everything will work out for you. Can't make any promises, but that's pretty much it for now, guys. All right, smash them likes, share my video. It's the only way my channel grows, and I'll continue to do this. And what else? Leave anything in the comments section. All right, guys. Until next time.